I would like to start with a very simple question. How does this industrial digital transformation apply to you?
I think it applies to all companies, all industries. And I can think like every business, we consistently have to be remaining competitive and evolving our companies and our businesses as the priorities evolve. And what's very clearly happening is, from a technology point of view, we've matured technology radically over the past 20, 30 years. And there is a lot of technology embedded in many industrial companies, but a lot of that technology is not necessarily technology that is ready to be easily incorporated in a digital world. And it specifically applies to the industries where I work in, because we want to harvest more of the data and the information, but a lot of that data is available in systems that were never designed or architected to be connected globally across networks. They were isolated standalone systems with that thinking, and to harvest that needs to be done with a lot of due diligence and planned carefully, so as to maintain the security of those systems, as well as the integrity and confidentiality of the data.
Okay, so if you have actually touched already a few key points that I would like to address as well, because my second question would be, so what kind of challenges do you currently see in this industrial transformation?
I see challenges in multiple aspects. So let's deal with a few of them. I see challenges from a timing point of view and a time pressure point of view. It's become quite well understood that there's a lot of data, especially in large corporations and large multinational corporations. There's a lot of data in different departments at different sites in countries, and that data is not yet being completely utilized, or actually to a large degree is not utilized enough. And for those companies, they want to use the data more to develop information out of it. That implies getting the data out of those systems. And because of the time pressure, you've got teams who are technical people wanting to do their best and simply connecting devices and giving the data without realizing the potential implications they have from a cyber threat perspective or an operational stability perspective in doing so. And I think the challenges there are, one, to have the business understand the implications and consider them as real concerns, and the other aspect, having the technical teams able to explain that it is possible, that they do want to make the data available and harvest the information, however, with taking the necessary steps to do so carefully and in a way that does not put the whole operation at risk. So I think those two tensions are becoming more prevalent today than they've been in the past. We've had the tensions already in the 1990s when I started my career as an engineer working on PLCs and SCADA systems and security systems. Those tensions existed, however, not so much at the time. Back in the 90s, we were lucky if sites were connected with wide area networks in a country. Nowadays, it's normal that all sites are connected, not only within the country, but internationally. So we've got that pressure and speed from what is theoretically possible and what business people want to use versus what is practically available and possible without too much risk. And of course, those two tensions are pushing on each other. And sometimes the technical teams allow themselves to be put under pressure, make decisions, and then live with the implications afterwards. And I think that will become more and more the case.
How do you introduce new solutions with all of those possibilities that we have just named to an organization, to such well-established, also probably process-heavy organizations? So what is the process? What are the steps there?
So the approach we take is that we first try and identify what is the requirement, what is the real need and objective, what are we trying to solve? And that gets done by requirements analysis. And requirements analysis needs to become a lot more rigorous and You have to do a lot deeper understanding of the requirements and validate them with your business.
I totally agree. So from our perspective, quality of requirements directly simply results in quality of systems. So that would be, I assume, this step one.
So that's step one. Once you've got your requirements and you've assessed what's available internally, what's available externally, what the benefits are, and you want to introduce a new platform, you need to know what is the architecture. What are you going to use from a data architecture internally? What is the networking architecture to support that? What is also the process architecture, the actual business processes that are operating using those technologies, so that you can map out all of the interconnecting points. One thing with all of this additional cloud possibilities, IoT possibilities, is that the landscape becomes much more complex.
Mm-hmm.
And that complexity cannot be simply now managed in someone's mind. Well, maybe some people are clever enough to manage the complexity in their mind, but when you want to be sustainable, you probably want to have more than some people who can manage the complexity, and you want many people to talk about it. So you have to have reference diagrams, reference material. And if you don't have that reference material and you do have an incident or a crisis and you need to start doing some analysis or troubleshooting recovery from failure, life's a lot more difficult without that documentation that should be built when doing the proper architecting of the solutions.
Some of those problems are so complex that we are not able to solve them by our own. Does that mean that in some cases we should look for like external help? Do you, for example, do you have experience in not only making or making software, making IT solutions, but also buying them?
Yes, I do have experience with that, and I definitely believe that there is such a rapid rate of change in technology over the past decade that you cannot know everything and you cannot specialize in everything. What's going to be very clear for me going forward, and it's become very obvious the past 5 years, is that the IT, OT personnel working inside of companies will have to be very, very versatile people. Versatile technically, versatile from a people skills perspective, soft skills. They'll have to be well-rounded in being able to help with understanding requirements, defining specifications, working on architecture diagrams and architectures of solutions. However, to build the solution, the specialist knowledge you require is not scalable to have only in-house. You will need to identify your trusted partners to help you on developing those solutions, specialists in different fields, whether it's going to be specialists in containers and microservices, specialists in new development languages, people who know JSON and Python and can use all of those benefits, querying machine language. To build that capability inside, theoretically is possible. However, one, you increase your cost significantly. Two, you cannot guarantee that you will require those specialists in your own company, and you will not keep them satisfied, because as soon as they have no work that is interesting for them, they will get bored and they will leave. Or at least that's what I would have done. So from that perspective, I think it's much better to have a model where you buy in the skills you need. What we've done is we have set up a process to help us, and it's basically an end-to-end solution delivery process. And it is identifying what are the needs, doing the requirements analysis, developing the functional specification internally, keeping that strategic architecture solution design internally, and then working with partners to develop the technical specifications for us, price them, we validate the specifications, approve or do not approve the budget, manage the project, and managing the way that we're also willing to accept killing a project if we see that it is not going to be viable, or if it is going to not achieve what the business case parameters were.
How do you select the right external partner for transformation projects?
So let's not talk about it as a transformation project, because the word transformation project could be transformation in culture. It could be transformation in organizational setup. So let's say that you've already got a focus on being more digital as an organization, and you want to do respective projects to facilitate that program, that direction. Then you need to have partners. And what we've done specifically is we've looked for partners in the area of application development and maintenance support. And that partner helps take care of our existing application landscape and is the first point of refusal for future opportunities. So we've agreed with that partner that they will always have the opportunity to bid for any projects, but if they do not have the skill set or competence, we have the right to look for somebody else to keep the partnership healthy and the trust high. The way we selected that partner is we went through a very, very rigorous process of defining our RFP. We very clearly specified the way the processes would be, what the partner's requirements are from an obligations point of view. We created races very clearly on what the partner is responsible for, what we as a customer are responsible for, and we actively track those obligations and deliverables. If you do not spend the time upfront very clearly defining what you want to do with a partner and how you want to operate, then it's very hard to be successful in a partner ecosystem environment. Mm-hmm. If you do that upfront work and you define it well, it becomes easier. It is never easy because everybody, of course, works in their frameworks, and everybody, whether it's a vendor or a customer, you have different pressures, different objectives. And of course, you both want to be successful, but you have to help set that success up. And of course, there will be challenging moments and there will be challenges to deal with. But if you build up trust with that partner, you'll be able to easily manage through those challenges, or more easily manage through those challenges. So in your RFP selection process of a partner, I would say know clearly what you want. And secondly, choose the partner you believe that you have the better connection with and you believe you have more trust you can build with it.
Where do you see this industrial transformation is going right now? So what are the next steps that you would identify in the following 5 or 10 years?
It's a very interesting question. It's not an easy question to answer, but one, I would say I find it a very, very exciting time. It's a really interesting time for a person like me, who has always played between technology and business. And fortunately, I have both the IT and the OT schooling in my formation. So the direction I see this going in is also a direction that's going to change, in my opinion, over the next 3 to 5 to 10 years. There is radical technology development happening at a pace that is constantly getting faster. There is a strong amount of willingness to try and fail in new technologies, much more than 20 years ago, much more now than 10 years ago, and it will be much more than 3 years ago. Which means that you will try certain technologies, some of them will become great solutions, and others will fail or will no longer be available, and you'll have to migrate away. So the view that I have is that for the next 5 to 10 years, people should expect that IT-OT convergence will get more and more. There will be rework. It's not clear yet what's going to work, what's going to fail. I believe it's going to go much more in the direction of microservices. I think that is going to give a lot of flexibility and scalability to many solutions. I also believe that many people in the IT-OT world don't yet fully understand what this microservices environment is, what it means, and how to benefit from it. I think a lot of us, maybe like me, are still thinking in client-server architectures, getting away from mainframes, then going to having terminals and Citrix services. And I think a lot of us have to learn about microservices, and I encourage everybody to go and understand that and learn about it. Again, it's nothing new. It's a concept from the Unix days, and it's just reapplying that and taking advantage of the cloud, the internet that everything's connected to. But I do think that that will give scalability. Again, it won't replace everything. I think it's an incredibly interesting time for people who want to be specialists and go very deep into certain areas, like machine learning, data analytics, web services. Those technical specialists, I think, will just have more and more areas to specialize and focus in and grow. And for people inside of companies, IT, OT people inside of companies, I think they will be having a lot of time working on upskilling to be more versatile, to be able to have more conversations with the business about business processes, understanding the business value, understanding also the risks. And there the IT, OT people will need to also very much think about risk versus value and understand the data security risks, understand network security risks, understand operating system risks, browser risks. And these are things that traditionally in IT, different teams used to look after. But as all of this happens and you move to a partner-based model, you'll require fewer people internally with broader knowledge. And it's a good opportunity to continue becoming more versatile and understanding technology as a whole and managing technology. And I think very much companies will move to managing technology instead of trying to develop and execute their own technology. They will manage technology that is available and use partners to help them build what's appropriate, and then manage the life cycle after that.
Erwin, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your insights. I believe it was all very interesting, and I was really happy to have you today during our interview. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Have a nice rest of the day.